Hi, welcome back to the Weekly Why. This week we have Parsha Vaera. This is the second in the book of Exodus, and there's a couple ideas. Basically, we have here the first seven plagues of Egypt. So there's a million and one things to talk about. But I want to talk a little bit about Moses. Here we have Moses, who has been called last week, who has been called by God to lead the Jews, to free the Jews from Pharaoh's hand. Now, Moses is a bit of a curious character because last Parsha, we had him, here he is, he's a Hebrew, he knows he's a Hebrew, but he's been adopted by the Pharaoh, by the royal court, and when he's out in the fields, he sees a Hebrew being beaten by an Egyptian. That was last week. And what does he do? He beats the Egyptian soldier to death and he flees. In other words, he throws his entire life, his entire upbringing, his safety, everything, he throws it all away in an instant just to basically save a Hebrew. Now, why then in this Parsha, and from last Parsha as well, but why this week does Moses continuously argue with God and basically tell God that, I'm not a man of words, whatever that means? Our commentators say that he had a speech impediment, probably a lisp. But why is Moses constantly, seemingly trying to weasel out, so to speak, of responsibility when, last week we have him basically rising to the test and putting his entire life in danger? And I think that we're really doing an injustice to Moses and to the Torah and to the text itself if we interpret Moses' arguing with God and telling him that, I'm not a man of words, is weaseling out. Not just because, we consider Moses to be the most righteous man ever lived, but not because of that, but because that we have Moses last week who put his money where his mouth is. And I think the lesson from leadership here is understanding one's strengths and not pretending that you're good at something, and in other words, understanding where your strengths lie and where your weaknesses lie. And so what Moses did is that last week Moses saw the immediate threat to the Jewish people. He said that the Egyptians are enslaving the Jewish people. The threat is imminent, instant, right in front of me. Okay? The problem is right in front of me and something has to be done about it right now. And so yet why, when God asks Moses, will you be the, when he tells him, you're the one who's going to free the Jews, he hums and haws and he basically tries to avoid it. It's not because Moses is trying to avoid the responsibility. It's because Moses, from a place of amunah, a place of real faith, real emet, truth, he really truly believes that he is not the right person to do it. He knows that there's an imminent threat. He knows that something needs to be done ASAP, but he honestly, truly does not believe he's the one to do it. And so what does God do? God calls his bluff. God says, you know what? You are the one to do it. But you know what? You're right. Perhaps Pharaoh will not take you as seriously because of your speech impediment. So here's Aaron who's going to speak with you. In other words, God basically says to Moses, Moses, you are the one to do it. Why? Because you see the threat. You see the situation of the Jewish people, and it's instant, and it's urgent, and something needs to be done right now. But yes, you know what? You need help. That's why here's your secretary, your assistant, Aaron. And I think that the leadership lesson we can take from that is to say that Moses was the leader who took the Jews out of Egypt. It wasn't Aaron. It was Moses who was our leader. Moses who was basically the foundation of the nation of Israel at this point. So why is it Moses? Moses was the leader because he was the one who saw the threat. He was the one who acted when something was utterly necessary. Okay? But he at the same time realized that, you know what? Sometimes I don't have the skills to do a particular thing. So you know what? You get somebody to help you. And that's, I think, the lesson we take from this, is that Moses didn't know that. But God helped him to say, yes, you know what, Moses? You are the only one who sees the threat, who needs to do something right now. But yes, you can't do everything. So that's why Aaron is going to help you. And again, I think to bring that to modern day, to contemporary times, the lesson in leadership that we take from that is that the people who are going to change the world, the people who are going to have the biggest difference, are the people who see the urgency, the people who see something needs to be done ASAP. Okay? But the fact that we can't do everything ourselves does not mean that we're not leaders. We simply get people to help us. We surround ourselves with good, powerful people who can do something. If I see a challenge, if I see an opportunity or a threat, but you know what, I can't do this, then I get Bob to do this. If I think that I am an amazing Torah teacher, that I have so much ability to teach, but you know what, I don't know so many people, finally I get my friend who's popular and he'll organize a class, and I get someone else to bring snacks, and I get someone else to organize, organize the class and do research. In other words, leadership is not about doing everything yourself. Leadership is about seeing a problem, seeing its urgency, and getting a resolution fixed. And you know what? There is no harm and there is no threat to leadership by saying, you know what? I need to surround myself with other people who can help me achieve this task. And that's something that God really helped to show Moses here, and I think that that's a lesson in leadership that we should be taking from Parsha Vaera. So best wishes, Shabbat Shalom, God bless.